Leo Santos, Papa Leo's Restaurant, Concession Street. Story of Dave. Dave Hanley, the first time I had the privilege of meeting him was back probably about 6 or 7 years ago when Dave was representing Dish Crawl. Dave called me up and said, listen, I want to bring a bunch of people up to Concession Street and we're going to tour the street and we're going to have some dining experiences. And he shows up with 42 people in the restaurant with a Pied Piper piping people down the street as they walk down Concession Street into the restaurant. And from that moment, I knew that Dave was definitely going to be someone who was going to bring a lot to the table, a lot for all of us to work together. And the promotion and the positivity that he brought when he came was unsurpassed. Gonna miss that, man.
I'm Lena Bassford, and I'm the Executive Director of Food for Kids. I have had the honor of meeting Dave around 3 years ago. And the first time that I met Dave, the first thing was after he heard about Food for Kids, the first thing that he had said to me was, I'm on your team. And that is one of the things that I will always remember about Dave. And month after month, year after year, he proved over and over again that he was part of the team. And in fact, a few of the pop-up events were dedicated specifically to Food for Kids. And I remember one that was held at the Steam Museum. And he said, Lena, come on, I want to get a picture of you and the chefs, and we're just going to go on a train and get a photo. And it's just around the corner. Well, around the corner was up like 2 or 3 flights of stairs through a field with high heels. And it was so cold. And I remember saying, Dave, I would do this for nobody else but you. And he loved that. So I have so many wonderful memories, but those are 2 that just come to mind right off the bat. We loved him, and we are so grateful for everything he did for us. Whoops, and that's the dog also agreeing with me. There you go.
I'm Laura Babcock, president of Power Group, and I'm firmly on Team Dave. I first met him when he moved to the city, and we were doing a documentary called Tip about whether or not the city of Hamilton was tipping forward to a new future. And Dave was a new Torontonian who'd moved to Hamilton. And he showed up at the party and he didn't know anybody. And all he kept saying, even though no one knew him, was, this is fabulous. This is awesome. I love this. And his enthusiasm for Hamilton never abated. He spent all day long going around trying to figure out who he could support, who he could champion, who he could connect. He never spoke a bad word about anybody. And I have spent many, many hours with Dave long into the night, with him even telling stories about how the Spartans fought in ancient times, putting me to sleep. And in all the conversations we ever had, all he ever had was mad love for Hamilton and for everybody he met. And, just a couple of things, though, about Dave is that he did have some peculiar high standards. What makes me laugh, I remember he was going to do a street tent for the World Cup, and he worked on all these permits and all this stuff. But when he found out he couldn't serve premium local beer, he refused to do it because he would not do anything that didn't have the best possible beer. I remember one time at a pop-up, Dave was serving all the guests, and this guest came up and said, I'd like a little bit of spritzer with my wine. And he goes, I could do that for you, but I'm not going to, because Dave was never going to corrupt a beautiful wine. And that's just how he was. Everything had to be, the things he loved so passionately that he had a standard about it. But if you were his friend, he loved you no matter what. And his last message to me randomly was, I love the hell out of you, right? And I love the hell out of Dave.
Hi, my name is Sid Friedman, and I knew Dave Hanley, of course, for the food scene that most people knew him. And one of my funniest memories with him fondest memory was, we were on a food tour going through about, 9 or 10 restaurants, and him and my buddy Devinder took off to go have a burger from Johnny Blonde food truck, just to be the rebel that he was. And tonight, it's just so touching to see the outpouring of love and just how he touched so many people. So here's to you, Dave.
It's Rob Krbavac, citizen of Hamilton and friend of Dave Hanley. I can't think of one particular Dave Hanley story, but I've been lucky enough to have met him and been out with him, and he's been over to our house. And I can say the one thing about Dave is I've never seen him not positive. And I'm sure anyone you've talked to has not had a story where he has not been positive, which is an amazing thing to witness and be a part of. He's a lovely man who had a lot of energy, who is basically wanted to get people together to have fun and enjoy life. And I don't know what else I can say.
I got a story of one of those times, because I know you spent many late nights with him in your backyard.
We have, and just it's always just all his stories were positive. It was always about how much he, loved his daughter, loved his family, loved his wife, and he was such a positive force in Hamilton. He's only been here for 5 years, and you'd think that he'd been here for 30 years. The amount of change and the things that he made happen were amazing. I can't think of one particular thing that it was, but it was just the overall feeling that he gave everyone around him was just, let's just have fun. He never had drama. He was always such a great guy and always fun to hang around. And, it's going to be missed, but he will be remembered.
Hi, my name is George McPherson, and I'm another Toronto transplant, but from about 3 years ago. The first time I met Dave, I was introduced to him via a story from Joey Coleman, who related to me as being another Dave Hanley. And I was flattered, had to meet this guy, and actually reached out to him to come to one of my events that I was running in Hamilton, a brand new event. And not knowing who he was, he showed up with tons of flattery, tons of positive energy, and he was someone who offered right away to come and help me with my show a few months later. I've seen him hundreds of times since in the city, right downtown. Walking through the market's my favorite. I would see him and his daughter wandering the aisles in his hat every single time, and he always was so full of energy. He's one of those guys who I strive to find every time I was there. I kept my eyes open and posted this yesterday, but spent 2 days in a row being real sad that I would never have those interactions in the market again. So it's my biggest and favorite thoughts of Dave Hanley.
I'm Kristin Archer from iHeart Hamilton, and here now at Sam Lawrence Park, and I'm just so amazed at the community here to celebrate the life of Dave Hanley. What I'll always remember about him is just how supportive he was. He was such a connector in this community. He would really go out of his way to make those connections, introduce you to someone. He would remember everyone that he met and follow up. Attending a pop-up dinner, he would just be so attentive and make sure to talk to everyone. He remembered you. And he was just really would go out of his way. I mean, in his busy schedule, he would still listen to my show at CFMU. He would tell me if he liked an interview. I remember him messaging me saying, "What song was that? Did you just play? That was really great." And just so supportive. And it went beyond just the wonderful events that he did, but he was just so supportive across the board. And we're just really going to miss a presence like that. And they're very hard to come by.
I'm Joey Malesko. I actually met Dave through Food for Kids. The way I met him was he sent me a Facebook message randomly one day inviting me to one of the events on behalf of Food for Kids. And the one thing I can always say I remembered about him was his ability to make you feel special. He would always have that one sentence to say, he said, "You do great things, come to Food for Kids event." And the one time I remember I was doing a footpath tour of Hamilton, and he was there. And he comes up to me and he just goes, "Geez, all I got to do is find somewhere where somebody's doing good for the city and I'm going to run into you." And that honestly centers you and makes you feel so special. And even when you don't feel like it, he saw something in you and he's pointed it out. And that's my story for Dave.
My name is Ryan Moran. So I met Dave actually relatively recently, but I'd always seen his tweets and everything that he'd been doing. And then I was invited to come to a pop-up dinner and went to it and met Dave there, and then kind of would just keep talking to him whenever we saw each other around. And it always just shocked me just how, the short amount of time I would have known him, which would have been maybe about a year now, the amount of friendship that he was instantly and readily and genuinely willing to offer you. He's a pretty incredible guy.
Hi, my name's Graham Crawford, and I have such fond memories of Dave. He was just one of the sweetest guys I've ever met. I've said to people that he was like the true Hamiltonian that we all want to be. He wasn't from here. And in fact, in 5 short years, he touched so many people. Such a great guy. I did have to call on him a couple of times just for favors. I just wanted to use his brain, his ideas, his energy, and he always said yes. He was always there, always asking with a follow-up, what else can I do? How can I help? And this outpouring across the city is just testament to what a sweet, sweet guy he was.